Am I the bad guy for not offering to pay for my husband and his kids, leading him to spend all his savings? Plus 3 latest updates. For a while now my husband, John, has been getting more and more angry over little things and generally moody and distant. I had finally had enough and approached him about separation. This conversation led to a big blowout and him revealing the state of his finances. My husband and I have always kept our finances separate. Also, although we call each other husband and wife and had a wedding, we are not legally married. This was primarily for inheritance purposes, because we each have older children from previous relationships. Anyway, John revealed that he had no savings left. All the money he had saved for retirement and his kids' schooling was gone. Furthermore, he said it was all my fault since he used all his savings to try and keep up with my lifestyle. There was never anything crazy in terms of bills or anything like that, and we always split it all equally. The house we live in I own outright as well, so there wasn't a mortgage payment. However, I have always liked to travel a lot on fairly extravagant vacations. I would invite John and his children to join on trips, but never made them feel like they had to come. That said, he was expected to pay for himself and his kids. Except for recently, he accepted every invitation. I would also give my kids things he considered extravagant, but I considered normal. So he felt like he had to give similar things to his kids. John said with all the spending to keep up his savings dwindled very fast. I expressed that I couldn't understand how or why he would spend all he had when he knew he couldn't afford it. He said it was like keeping up with the Joneses, only worse because it was at home so he couldn't block it out. John thinks since I knew his job I should have had a basic understanding of his finances and realizes this wasn't a lifestyle he could maintain. That the kind thing would have been to offer to pay for the trips and other things instead of dangling them in front of his and his kids' faces. Looking back, I probably could have realized that this spending didn't make sense for his salary, but I wasn't thinking about it. I don't think it was my responsibility to keep his finances in mind here. We had agreed from the beginning to keep our finances separate, so to me that means paying for things separately. Edit. We do not live in a state with common law marriage. First update. After reading all the comments on my first post, I realized I needed more time to think about things. I also thought with the situation how it would be best that we spend the holidays apart to avoid controversy. He wasn't a fan of the idea, but I eventually got him to agree to go. Last week things settled down, so we met up to have a more detailed discussion about the state of his finances. A few more things were revealed. I found out that he had lost his job earlier this year and didn't tell me. He got a new job in October, but he went over 4 months without one while pretending he still had one. During that time he only got a small amount of money from unemployment, so he started putting everything on his credit cards. His new job doesn't pay as much as his old one, so he hasn't been able to pay more than the minimum towards his debts, which are now substantial. I feel like if he had just brought up all these issues earlier, this could have been avoided, or we could have worked something out. Now I just feel like I can't trust him. I can't trust him with money, and I can't trust him not to hide things from me. I just can't see going back and trying to make things work for him at this point. Since he doesn't have a place to take all their things, I've agreed to store their stuff in my garage until he gets more settled. This means I won't be able to make as clean of a break as I would like right now, but for the most part it's over. Second update. I like the suggestion I was given when I last posted about paying for a storage unit for their things for a few months. My ex, however, did not agree to it. He said it would make things too difficult because the closest storage location was too far out of the way. It felt like he was still trying to cling to things. Since I couldn't get a storage unit in his name without his approval, I talked to a friend, who is a lawyer, about the situation. He helped me write up a notice that told him that he had 30 days notice to get their things, or they would be disposed of. After 30 days notice was up, he still had only picked up a few things. I ended up calling his ex and asked her if she or their kids wanted anything before I got rid of it all. Well, they had been left in the complete dark about our relationship being over. My ex had been lying to them saying I was sick, and then he was sick with COVID, and that's why they hadn't been able to come over. I was not at all surprised at this point. I figured she didn't know about the rest of it either and told her. She is livid. Especially about the money for their kids' education, since it was part of their divorce agreement. Anyway, the kids all got what they wanted and I had a charity come and pick up the rest. It feels a lot better now that there is a completely clean break. Yes, I have gotten the locks changed and blocked his number. Since there is no reason for me to have contact with him anymore, this is probably the last time I'll be posting. I think in the future I will probably look for more transparency when it comes to financials in any serious future relationships. With how much he was lying, I can only imagine what else he may have been lying about. Had I known more, I don't think he would have been able to hide things. I am just so grateful and relieved that I was able to protect myself and my children. Latest and third update. I know I said that that would be my last update. I don't need to make another, but now I'm kind of using this as a form of journaling which I found cathartic. The previous posts are all under my username. I only had one run-in with my ex since the last incident. He came to my house. I only spoke to him through the camera. He asked about getting his things. I told him that I had already got rid of everything as I had warned him, but that his kids had taken some things. I also told him he needed to leave and not come back. Surprisingly, he didn't make a big fuss about it. He just said okay and that he was sorry for bothering me before he left, but he did look very tired, so maybe that's why. I have not seen him since, and his ex and his kids haven't heard from him in all this time either. This update had more to do with them than my ex. His ex contacted me to ask about him. She wanted to know if I had heard from him or had his new contact information. His phone is no longer in service. I told her how I hadn't had any contact with him since the aforementioned visit. She also asked if she and I could meet up for coffee and talk. I declined because honestly, I couldn't think of a reason for us to meet up. However, I did offer to pass on any info about him if I heard anything. She wanted to talk to me about helping her pay for her eldest child's, who is now a senior in high school, education next year. She also subtly implied there was some fault on my part for their lack of funds. I rather cowardly told her I would think about it and ended the call. To be honest, I feel like it's an unfair position she's putting me in. The main reason is that her children don't seem to care for me. We got along alright while I was with their dad. However, since I ended things with him, it has been complete silence from them. I did try to reach out to them to see if they were okay. They never responded. Even when they came over to get their things, they ignored me and my youngest. However, I did get a message after the call with their mom about how she missed me. The timing though just makes it seem sort of like manipulation to get money out of me. Edit. I have since blocked all of them.